for the fourth and final time, still not a furry. Welcome back to the Smith Nerds, everyone. If you were wondering what that intro was, that intro is only ever used when I'm covering a very specific series. That series, of course, being Beastars. And today we're going to be covering the end of Beastars. I've covered all the rest of Beastars before. I covered Season 1 in 2020. I covered Season 2 in 2021. I covered the first half of Season 3 in January of last year, and now it's time to cover the second half of Season 3 this time round. But before I get into it, doesn't it feel like a lot of manga and anime series have been ending over the last couple of years, big well-known ones? Like My Dress Up Darling's manga ended not that long ago. Komi-san's manga ended. The My Hero Academia anime ended last year. Technically, there's still one more episode, but it basically did end. Chainsaw Man's manga is all on the verge of ending, and now the Beastars anime has ended. So season 3 part 2 kicks off right where part 1 ended, with Legoshi being thrown off a cliff by Melon while strapped to a chair. Melon, of course, is the overall now main villain of the series. He's the hybrid mix of a gazelle and a leopard, and is also a university professor who teaches Haru's class of all people. Obviously, Legoshi does not die. He manages to get himself out of the ocean and break free, thanks to a call that his seal friend that he met in the first half of Season 3, he makes the same call, and that helps him out. Meanwhile, there's all sorts of things going on. The drama club are want to put on a carnivore-herbivore play, but unfortunately, in Season 3, Part 1, the drama club itself got segregated by species of carnivore and herbivore. It's funny because the same people who, years and years and years and years ago, who opposed segregation, right, are the very same people now that support it for some reason. And somehow the people who are now against segregation are somehow the evil ones for some reason. But yeah, if I was in Beastars, I'd probably be a carnivore, if I'm being honest. I like meat way too much to be a herbivore. And if I was to pick what animal in Beastars I would be, probably a golden retriever dog, if I had to be honest. And if Ash was in Beastars, she'd absolutely be a herbivore and a rabbit, just like Haru. Because Haru's a cute little bunny rabbit, and Ash reminds me of a cute little bunny rabbit. But back to the show. So Legoshi's only goal of this season, the rest of Season 3, is to take down Melon. Which makes sense. Of course it is. In Melon's office, he grabs hold of Haru, in the same way Legoshi once did, as like a carnivore grabbing hold of its herbivore prey. He grabs her like that, and she doesn't get that suspicious about him, not realizing that the guy she's talking to nearly just murdered her boyfriend. So Legoshi goes back to doing his delivery job, delivering udon noodles, while plotting how to capture Melon. He even asks help from Lewis, who is being begged by the lions of the Shishigumi, of course one of the black market gangs that operate down there. They spent all of the rest of season 3 begging him to come back and be their boss, but he keeps saying no. Who ends up being their boss instead? Melon, because of course he is. So Lewis also becomes an ambassador for the Zoolympics, which I think is a very, very clever name. Just an animal version of the Olympics. Kind of fitting that the Winter Olympics were last month. So, quite fitting. Lewis tries to get tries to figure out what is the weakness of a herbivore carnivore mix, which is what Melon is. What is their weakness? And it takes a long time to find out. Eventually, they finally figure it out. It's smelling blood of a mix. How funny! The weakness of a mix is smelling the blood of the very thing that they are. So Legoshi finally gets to Melon after he'd also asked Haru to do some digging at her university to try and figure out what's going on. Because there had been reports of plenty of devouring cases. They were, of course, all committed by Melon. And stupidly and unfortunately, Legoshi gets himself framed because he goes to the tattoo parlour, which he'd been to before to find out information on Melon, goes there again to see if he can find any more information about Melon. Unfortunately for him, the two people already in there have been murdered by Melon, and Legoshi goes in there and pretty much within a minute or so of him entering the tattoo parlour, the police arrive. So Legoshi has to run away, but all they see is Legoshi fleeing the scene of a crime. Obviously, they're going to think that he did it. So Legoshi has to go on the run. Much different experience from what he's having from what he had at the start of the second half of season 3. Because he also met up with all of his friends from high school. You know, Jack, the dog, and the other ones, and they all had a fun day out together. He's got very different things going on now. So Legoshi becomes wanted for all the devouring cases that he never committed. Legoshi's grandpa, if you remember, the lizard, finds Haru and she ends up freaking tasering him multiple times before he can explain that he's Legoshi's grandpa, and Legoshi personally wrote a letter to him asking him to take care of Haru if anything happens to him. So while Legoshi is on the run, after he'd also been fighting Melon a bit, he ends up participating in the turf war. The turf war happens every year at the black market, where the 4 main gangs, the Lions one with the Shishigumi being, of course, the one we're most familiar with, but 3 other gangs also participate in this turf war each year. And basically, whoever wins the turf war is able to control what happens to the black market for that year, until the next turf war. Legoshi ends up seeing Melon at the location the turf war takes place at, and decides to just enter himself with the sole purpose of taking down Melon. Meanwhile, Lewis is trying to figure out what's wrong with the artificial meat, because that's something that was going to be revealed very, very soon. Artificial meat, basically a meat substitute, but Lewis was trying to figure out there was something off about it. The thing that being off about it was that it's not actually 100% artificial. it's actually made from I think what was it, dead unborn babies or something. Yeah, it's a pretty nasty detail. And Lewis and his father do not get on very well. But the mayor had actually been bribing and blackmailing Lewis's father all along. So Lewis didn't know what to do. So in his Zoolympic speech, he just goes all out, goes completely off script, and calls out the mayor right in front of everyone. Says that the mayor has been blackmailing his father, and when he asks, "Is that true, father?" and his dad goes, "Yes." While all of this is going on, Legoshi is fighting Melon, it's a brutal battle. Legoshi gets a full scrap, has Melon dig his claws into Legoshi's stomach. It's a very brutal fight. Legoshi gets his right ear blown off completely. But Melon's lab scientist, I don't know what to call her, after she'd worked out she brought the herbivore carnivore blood mix to the turf war arena and got it there just in time. So Melon started being weakened by it. And instead of attack it, and what does Melon do next? He shoots Legoshi. No, he doesn't. What the fuck am I on about? That was last season. That was the first half. No, he shoots himself in the stomach. We had been shown throughout the second half of season 3, like Melon's backstory and why he is the way he is, because he murdered a bunch of his classmates when he was a kid. But I mean, has anyone ever noticed that this keeps happening? Every villain has to have a tragic backstory. Like, villains can't just be evil because they're evil. No, they've always got to have some tragic backstory for why they are this way. We don't get villains anymore who are just evil for the sake of being evil. And some people say that Melon actually ruined the entire series, and well, I can sort of understand where that's coming from, because season 3 does feel a fair bit different compared to the first 2 seasons, because the first 2 seasons Legoshi is in high school, and of course for the final season he isn't. Whereas everyone he knows, apart from Haru, is still in high school. So once Legoshi sees Melon shoot himself, he bolts it out of the arena because he remembered that he promised Haru he would go see the Meteor Festival with her, and he'd forgotten to do that. So he bolts it to the festival. The mayor, after being exposed, drinks some water, but with a certain little ingredient inside of it that makes him go berserk. He tries to attack Lewis, but just in the nick of time, Legoshi sprints his way in there, and gets absolutely smashes the mayor. He takes him down before seeing Haru. Before Haru shows up, everyone there realizes who Legoshi is, and sees that's the devouring wolf. And Haru just walks towards him, and they're all telling her, "What are you doing? You're going to be devoured." She's not stupid. She knows she isn't. She says, "No, he is not. Legoshi would never devour anyone." And Mr. Yara, the horse guy, if you remember from the first half of season 3, comes in and says he was framed for crimes he'd never committed. And we have quite a funny moment where Haru kisses Legoshi, but he still has his eyes open, and she even asks him, did you close your eyes just then? And he says, no. She says, that's what you're supposed to close your eyes when you're kissing. He goes, oh. So they just redo it, and Legoshi this time does close his eyes. But the way I describe Beastars' ending is abrupt. That's the best way I can describe the ending. The ending, it just happens. It's very abrupt to me. Not quite sure what they were going for to end it. And then the credits start rolling. But whilst the credits are rolling, similar to the credits of My Hero Academia's final episode at the end of last year, similar to that, while the credits are rolling, it shows us different scenes of the aftermath of what's been happening. So the drama club were able to perform their carnivore herbivore play at a later date. The mayor was arrested for bribery and corruption. Melon actually survived the gun wound he gave himself at the turf war, but nobody knows where he is now. It's quite odd that the main villain of the entire series, in the end, doesn't actually die. He survives. And then the final scene we get is Legoshi proposing to Haru. The whole reason Legoshi was going after Melon is because if he could capture the real culprit for the devouring murders, he would get his own case of devouring wiped off record, which means, and of course, that is necessary to have an interspecies marriage. Of course, Legoshi and Haru are A, not the same animal, and B, not the same type of animal, as in one's a herbivore, the other's a carnivore. So, and the final shot of the entire series is actually the thumbnail of this video. That's the final shot of Legoshi holding Haru. I think that's the perfect shot to end the series on as well. So, what did I think of Beastars as a whole? I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really, really good show. So much of it is about class disparity, and of course segregation is a big part of it. Segregation has been a huge part of the real world. Not quite as much now as it was back in 60, 70 years ago. But as I said earlier in the video, there's some people out there who support segregation now, despite the fact that the same side they're on were the ones who opposed it and ended it in the first place 60 odd years ago or so. But that is going to do it for Beastars. If you have enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Tell me in the comments, what did you think of Beastars? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? I'd love to know what you all think. And until we meet again, I will see you in the next one.